Say thank you so much for taking your time. You've been such a um, free thinker, such a, I think, a market leader and a calculated risk taker, I'll say, that I think all of us can learn from your experiences and your wisdom. So if you could start by introducing yourself to the audience and maybe share a bit about who Clark is.
I'm Brian Pangle, President and CEO of Clark Retirement Community in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So if you're familiar with where we are, we're on the west side of the state of Michigan, about a half hour or so from Lake Michigan. So a beautiful part of our state and beautiful part of the country. Clark was established 116 years ago in 1906 as a place for Methodist pastors and their spouses to retire after their, and I'll use the word, itinerant ministry. We've evolved, like so many communities over the years, into a continuing care retirement community, now life plan community, and proud of our roots, our heritage, our DNA. We lean into our faith-based founding, although today we're very ecumenical, but still maintain a pretty close relationship with the United Methodist Church. And that's a very, very important part of who we are, and the faith component is very important. We have two campuses in the greater Grand Rapids area. One is our legacy campus that was founded in 1906, a urban walkable campus. We have a second campus that's been historically, I would call, more satellite, more out in a suburban area that we are, in fact, expanding. Part of our long-term strategy was to expand that campus to really create the entire continuum in that environment for our residents who live there, with assisted living, memory care, and now a very strong component of independent living with all the amenities and such that you would find in a life plan community. Part of our mission is to impact the lives of older adults with dignity, compassion, and respect. And we think we're doing that in a pretty significant way within our organization and over the walls, as one of our former board members used to say, outside the walls of Clark.
Are there any trends or I don't think they're fads that you've seen lately that you feel Clark needs to adapt to better serve these people who may not have been attracted to your legacy campus?
As we look out into the broader communities that we serve, the cities and townships and things like that, I think I know what we saw happening, and we know was happening based upon all the conversations we were having with stakeholders. The idea of loneliness and isolation was exacerbated for many, many older adults who were no longer able to leave their homes or interact with their friends and neighbors for fear of COVID. And so I think, how do we solve for isolation and loneliness outside of our organization? And so again, I've often thought that our job is to solve for that, whether we do it inside of our housing developments or with the services we're providing with their home care, care management, et cetera. And so I personally believe that that's one of our responsibilities, but I also believe that's an opportunity to collaborate with competitors in the marketplace. So in our marketplace in West Michigan, there are 4 or 5 very sizable nonprofit senior living organizations, Clark being one of them. And the CEOs and leadership in these organizations, we meet on a regular basis and talk about how to do this in our environments. All of us that are in this industry, in this space, think differently about older adults, and we want to impact and affect their lives in a positive way. So I think we have to really step back and ask ourselves, are we doing that outside of our organizational structures?
Well, and I know you've thought a lot about that, and one of the challenges that you certainly have is um, just the overhead, and how small can a satellite campus be, and perhaps with the affiliations that you have with home health and other organizations, um, perhaps what opportunity does that provide you then to spread um, what you're able to provide these individuals who perhaps didn't have access to that value in the past?
Well, and I think you're raising a very practical, tactical point. It's I believe that all of our missions also need to be sustainable. We've all heard no margin, no mission. What a cliche that is, but it's an important cliche, and it's, as an organization and as nonprofit organizations, I don't think we want to be known as an industry that relies on philanthropy for survival. We need to make sure that we can, in fact, create sustainable business models that also honor our nonprofit, heritage.
And as we all know, historically, not-for-profit life plan communities have earned a black eye in some cases for not putting profit on the table, because without it, as you say, you don't have mission.
Yeah. I know it's important from my perspective and with my board. It is certainly something it is front and center. It is, to say it's more important than our mission and our purpose is wrong, but to say it sits there side by side, I think it is important. I think as organizations, we shouldn't shy away from the idea of profitability and positive margin, so that our missions can, in fact, impact more lives and be sustainable for a long period of time.
The people living on the independent side, and especially with the expansion that you're going through right now at that campus, how many of those people who have committed to an apartment and are interested in that campus, how many do you think would be interested in moving to your legacy campus today?
Great question. I come out of a healthcare background going way back, and we used to say in healthcare, location is everything. Our two campuses are, as a crow flies, less than 10 miles apart, but two very distinct parts of the Grand Rapids community. People choose Keller Lake for a reason. Its location, and it is on a lake. It's not Lake Michigan, but it's a lake all the same, and there are walking paths and trails. So it's rare for people to say Franklin or Keller Lake, as we say it. They choose Keller Lake on purpose because of the lake and actually the development that we're doing there. This because you were part of our team. We said no excuses on this project, and I'm very excited about and proud about what we're developing there, because it will be, in my opinion, the most unique senior living campus in the Grand Rapids area from a look, feel, and how it was developed standpoint. So rarely do we see people wanting both of them. They want one or the other for all kinds of reasons. You bet.
Well, you mentioned no excuses, and I know you are a no excuses person. Again, a calculated risk taker, and are leading your organization to serve lives that would otherwise not have that opportunity. And I think through these strategies that you've talked about, you're changing the lives of others, and that's impactful. Thank you, Brian, so much for your comments and your thoughts.
I appreciate being part of this panel that you've pulled together for this discussion. I would just say that all of us have a large opportunity ahead of us, and from a risk standpoint, I think all of us need to be willing to take some risk. And some calculated gambles, bets, however you want to characterize it, to move our organizations forward into the future.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Dodd. Appreciate it.